Hi guys, Tugur here with a new video, and this video will be my PvP guide video for 10.1.5 of Holy Paladin in PvP, of course Dragonflight, and we're going to kind of explain from at the start on how to play and start with playing Holy Paladin in 10.1.5. There are two playstyles, which is one with melee wings and one with cast wings. I know that the meta currently is the caster wings, but I'm going to give you my POV about melee wings and why I do like it still, because of a lot of things that I'm actually accustomed to for 10.1 and also in 10.0.7, where I started to play Holy Paladin in Dragonflight. Now, I think Holy Paladin is safely a S+ healer. I really think it's the best healer to date in 10.1.5. It kind of rivals pre-nerf Mistweaver and pre-nerf Disc Priest whenever they had like huge damage and huge healing from their damage. It kind of rivals that. You can basically, especially in twos, you can switch onto a target and really kill him because of your damage. And you can also like have a lot of CDs to actually keep your teammates alive. So let's start talking about the stats. My stats are not optimized yet because I'm still with honor gear. But what you really want is to stack crit. You want to have as much crit as possible. That is just a objective of yours. Crit gives you infusions. So if I crit once, I don't know if I'm gonna crit. So I'm not critting. So let's try to crit this time. So I get a crit, I will get an infusion of light, which basically makes your flash of light cost 100% less mana. Holy light generates 2 holy power, but you are not going to do that. And greater judgment prevents 150% more damage. And greater judgment is like the judgment is just insane right now. I'm going to give you a go on the talents, but it can prevent so much damage, and you can basically rival with wall totem from earthen wall totem from resto Shaman. So you can actually have like something similar, or a mind blast from Disc Priest, but much more stronger. I think the judgments from Holy Paladins are much stronger than the mind blasts of a Disc Priest to prevent damage. So you want to crit as much as possible to get those infusions of light, and you want to actually do still flash of lights. Although you are melee wings, you really do want to heal sometimes your flash of lights because of the mana efficiency, but also just in general, you will have a great time. But if you can prioritize judgments, be sure to do that, because preventing damage is always better than actually healing the damage that is actually done onto you or your allies. You want to have around 30% versatility. That's where the breakdown starts. And then you would actually want to have more mastery than haste. I think haste is something that is still going to be quite useful, especially for casting spells. But I think in general, your mastery is going to be super huge. And you also have like an updated mastery because of your talents. So I'm going to show you the talents as well. You also want a 4-set. I still have no 4-set, but that makes basically your Holy Prism heal crazy amounts, and it is actually going to generate also holy power if you're casting on an enemy, which is something you really do want. But you can also cast it on an ally. You will get like 3 directly, so it will give you a free Word of Glory, which is now costing mana, but it's still 3000, which is barely nothing. It's like two times less than a Holy Shock. Now let's talk about the talents. It is crazy. It is crazy fun. I think in general, Holy Paladin is probably one of the best reworks we had for a long time. I think it rivals the Retribution rework. I think it just is now a complete class. I do not know about Protection Paladin, but I do know about Retribution Paladin. The rework is actually quite nice, although again, balancing is another issue. And Holy Paladin right now feels really cool, and you have a lot of points that you can spend elsewhere and test. Again, I tested multiple things, and I'm actually really liking the current iteration of Holy Paladin. So now let's talk about the class tree and the spec tree. Again, I know for some people you are playing Holy Paladin since the start of Dragonflight, and it's going to be really harsh, but I do think that a lot of DPSs are actually going to play Holy Paladin. So I want to actually give my opinion about the most important class and spec talents and why I take those. So what you want to have is basically greater judgment. That is the most important talent from the tier above. This will prevent damage dealt whenever you're using judgment, and it is even more improved with infusion of light, which I'm going to show you once we are on the spec tree. This is going to be very nice, very, I would say, life-saving, and also it will basically make you use a lot less mana that you should be using if you had not judgment. Judgment is really high on your priority list of actually casts that you want to make. You want to Holy Shock on CD and you want to Judgment on CD, and then you want to actually press any other thing that is actually lighting up on your screen. So if you have an Infusion of Light, use your Flash of Light. If you have Divine Toll, use your Divine Toll. Be sure to use your Daybreak. I'm going to talk about that on the spec tree once you have it up, not only for the mana, but also for the burst healing and also the burst damage. If you want to do damage, Daybreak is also very nice to do that as well. And basically that is it. That is how Holy Paladin is played. And then you have like CD based spells, but I'm going to talk about that once we are there. We have Rebuke, again, super important. People are not using it enough, but you should see in Soul Shuffle how many interrupts actually is going from the whole match, and often nobody's really interrupting because they're like a bit scared or they're not like thinking about it. But if you as a healer can interrupt a cast from a Disc Priest, it is a huge win because they are actually trying to heal a lot of the damage that is done onto their team, but also in general they are always like one step behind because of the healing done is very low compared to other specs. So if you do interrupt, like let's say a Disc Priest, it is actually very big because they have nothing else to actually respond except a CD, and sometimes and often than that, CDs are actually used in the start of the match. So if you can actually interrupt a penance or flash heal, or for example something more important like for example mind games, which can sometimes often end the game for you, this is quite awesome to have. So Rebuke, be sure to use it as much as you can. Pretty much you have like choices between Repentance and Blinding Light. Since you're not casting that much these days and you can play precog, you can actually bait a lot of kicks because of Repentance. And if you do Repentance the enemy, it's a 15-second CD, it is a huge CC, and it is for 6 seconds, I think, if I'm not mistaken, which is quite huge. It sets back the healer by a lot, especially in Soul Shuffle. So I play with Blinding Light because it's instant, but I might just play more Repentance because I feel like I have more like time to cast Repentance. And if I'm kicked, that's not a problem because I have a lot of CDs to use to actually come back from it. We're playing with Sacrifice just to get like a 1-minute Blessing of Sacrifice, but some games I do play with Recompense, and I can basically one-shot someone if I really truly desire. In Soul Shuffle, they do not like think, and they do see Recompense, but they are still hitting him, and sometimes it just can like kill a target basically because of just one judgment, and then a Daybreak with a Holy Shock, it just decimates the whole team. Or at least not the whole team, but like that one target that you need to kill. So you can play that sometimes. Again, it's high risk, high reward because it's a 2-minute CD then, and having a 1-minute CD Blessing of Sacrifice can help you to counter CC, but also counter a lot of damage that is incoming on your team. So you can choose however you want to play around that. We're taking the improved Blessing of Protection because we do need Touch of Light, and Touch of Light is healing for absurd amount. I already saw a crit of 120k of a passive, which is mind-blowing. Remember, it's a passive. It's like a chance of every single ability and spell that you're doing, and you're doing a lot of spells with Holy Shock, but you have also a lot of procs from Glimmer of Light, which works as an ability, as a spell. So you have many ways to actually proc it, and whenever it procs, it just means that someone is going to get full healed because of the Holy Shock, Glimmer of Light, and then Touch of Light combo. It's like insane. This is like, you're reading the tooltip and you would think, look, 30k, it's alright, but it is critting for 120k, and it is just insane. That's why you want to play crit. Again, crit is so important with this whole build, and I feel like I will win a lot more rounds, a lot more games if I'm built correctly around crit. I was haste because of 10.1 and also 10.1.7, where haste for a melee wing was something that you had to do because mastery was really bad. and also you wanted to squeeze as much GCDs as possible. But right now, everyone is actually making the switch to crit, and then mastery, and then haste. We have Seal of Alacrity giving us haste. Again, it's making us like a lot more smoother, but the more important thing is actually Judgment CD being reduced by 1. And trust me, Judgment is something you want to press on CD. We have Divine Purpose, like I said, it's a reset of like a Holy Power ability and giving you more healing too. It's so good. We have Seal of Might Mastery, which is a big win, but also Intellect, again, a big win. And then you have Divine Toll, and you have a choice between Quickened Invocation or Divine Resonance. I play now with Quickened Invocation because I feel like having a on-demand Divine Toll whenever I want, like 45 seconds, is actually more beneficial than Holy Shocking every 5 seconds for 15 seconds, because sometimes we are overhealing too much. And yes, there is a talent to have benefits on overhealing, but I prefer to have Quickened Invocation. Then I can actually choose whenever I'm going to press that button, and it's going to come up a lot more smoother, a lot more safer, a lot more active. Dusk on Down, again, that's something like a whole passive. Whenever you're using 3 holy power generating abilities, you will get Blessing of Dawn, which basically gives you more healing on your Word of Glory by 30%, and it also stacks, so it will be 60%. Damage taken reduced by 5%, and your holy power regenerating ability also grants an absorb shield for 10% of damage or healing dealt. Again, fantastic. And then we have Seal of Order, increasing even more the holy power spending ability by 10%. I think it is 20% and it becomes 30%. I don't think it's 40%. And we also have increases your armor by 10%, so it makes you tanky versus, like, let's say, your arms warrior. And your holy power generating abilities on the cooldown 10% faster, which is basically denounce. So and denounce doesn't have a city, so basically nothing really. So this is for this class tree. Spec tree, I'm going to talk about the newer things. I already made a video about it, but again, I'm going to regroup all the information on this video so I can actually link to people whenever they are actually questioning about Holy Paladin. So Holy Shock is now your main thing. It was already your main thing, but it is even more. Now I do call it now a Shockadin. I think really Holy Paladin are back to the roots of Holy Paladin being Holy Shock being everything. And Holy Shock is something you're going to use on CD. Yes, it does cost a lot of mana. No, you're not going and often not, you will not even hit because games are still fast, but also games are going to be quick enough to not get and you have abilities to actually press to regen some mana. You can go but you have a lot of ways to actually come back from it. Glimmer of Light is your second portion of the spec, being like super important. I would even say that it is your mastery pretty much. That's how important it is. It is omnipresent. Every time you're going to Holy Shock your ally or your enemy, you're going to leave a Glimmer of Light for 30 seconds. And every time you're going to use your Holy Shock on anyone, it will basically pop. So it's not a random thing. It will pop on any target possible, and it will either damage or heal evenly among the people. So I would say it's even better whenever you're played actually in 2s than in 3s or in Soul Shuffle or in RBGs. But it is going to be more and more the more targets you have, because the total healing and damage is increased by 6% for each target affected. So if you have 5 targets because of the spec, the talents from elimination, so you will have 5 targets, for example, so 2 targets enemies and then 3 from your allies, you will get basically a 30% increased healing from your total Glimmer of Light, which is still insane. Would you mind it? You may have Glimmer of Light on up to 8 targets, so it's quite nice to have. In PvP, I think it's a lot different, but it's up to 8 targets. But in PvP, I think it kind of goes on everyone, and also pets and such. So you want to really have many targets, because sometimes whenever you're doing Divine Toll, it hits many targets that are not in the Glimmer of Light, and it can dispel the Glimmer of Light on you, and that you really do not want to. When Glimmer of Light is dispelled, its effect is activated by 100% value, so they do not want to dispel that as well. Again, it's a very good thing to have. Light's Conviction, now you have 2 charges for Holy Shock. more healing on Flash of Light. We play now Divine Favor. I tried a lot to play Hand of Divinity. I was super hyped. I would say on my video 10.1.5 preview of Holy Paladin, but 1.5 minute CD is very long. There's no way to actually make it shorter, and also you have to cast it. So it means that the way you cast the Hand of Divinity, you could have already healed someone with a Holy Shock or with a Flash of Light. So I think if you really wanted to make this talent competitive with Divine Favor, you have to put it in instant cast. But I don't think they are in the optic of buffing the Holy Paladin. I think they are pretty much thinking and looking at Holy Paladin to actually nerf it. That's, again, a speculation. What I would like to see is them buffing the other healers to the standards of a Holy Paladin. But it's going to be very hard. It really depends on PvE if Holy Paladin is actually scoring very well or not. If they're doing very much, like a lot of things in PvE, they're going to probably nerf PvP. If not, I think they were going to like let it slide and let it go basically on PvP. Divine Favor is huge. It is instant, giving you more healing on your Flash of Light, and you're going to pop your Flash of Light pretty much very easily with your infusions. And just in general, you're going to have some great healing as well. We have Divine Revelation, again, more healing, but also mana regen on Judgments. And you want to pop Judgment on City, so it's super important to have it. We have Illumination, but in twos you could play with Blessed Focus to get more healing and damage, and then you can just pop on someone and you can destroy someone by playing very aggressive. But I will make a video about that. I think it's very fun. You are going to play Holy Prism. Light's Hammer is not good, even with the 4 set. You want to have Holy Prism. On the right side, what's new? We have Beacon of the Lightbringer. We do not care about Light of Dawn. You don't even have to put a keybind, so just forget about it. Do not press it, never, okay? Beacon of the Lightbringer. So basically it changes your mastery to actually work with proximity of your Beacon of Lights, basically. So if you're putting your Beacon of Light and your other Beacon of Light, which is the Beacon of Faith, they will benefit from mastery. So if you're healing the target, the second target, like let's say you heal the Faith of Light, Beacon of Faith, and the Beacon of Light is next to him, it's going to be full mastery benefit. So if it's 30% healing extra, it will be 30% healing extra because they are very very close to each other. Again, I don't know if I'm like explaining very well that mastery, but it just makes your mastery 10,000 better, 10,000 times better. I would even say and argue that in 10.1, if they added that, it would already make a Holy Paladin go mastery. But now they added that, plus also all the changes from Holy Shocks and such. Now mastery is really the play. We are playing with Awestruck. Again, something that is wanting you to go crit. It is going to increase your crit of Holy Shock and Flash of Lights. We're not even talking about Holy Lights because you do not have the time to press it. Consuming Infusion of Light reduces the cooldown of Holy Shock, so you do really want to Holy Shock Judgment. You will have a 2-second back on your Holy Shock, then you can Holy Shock again, you can Flash of Light, boom, you have a Holy Shock again on CD, you press Holy Shock, Judgment, etc, etc, etc. It's going to be very good. We're playing with Shining Righteousness, more damage on Denounce. It's actually making a lot of damage, Denounce, and also making your 5 Denounces a free Word of Glory, which is always something good to have. Light's Protection is the version of Atonement. The damage Atonement, so whenever you're putting Atonements on Discrease, the more you put, the less damage you will get for yourself. Now this is like different. It will be your damage reduction passive, I would say. So the more allies your Glimmer of Light will have, the less damage reduction they will have, so on themselves, but also on you. So in twos, it is going to be basically super strong. It will be 8% damage reduction at all times. In threes, it will be lower, but I think it's very decent for just a 1-point talent and very high on the tree. So you do want that, especially since you want to have Tower of Radiance, which is something that we already had. Again, Divine Glimpse giving you more crit chance on Holy Shock, so you really want to have a 50% chance on crit for Holy Shock, because you do want to proc your fusions, but also the increased healing from Holy Shock, and Holy Shock is just healing too much to not take it. And now this is the part where I will differ from a lot of people, because I'm playing with melee wings. I prefer melee wings because, again, we're using Holy Power, but first and foremost, Word of Glory is not healing for too much. It heals for a lot, but it is not like the everything for you now. What you want to have the most top 3 or top 4 healing is basically Holy Shock, your Glimmer of Light, your Tear Deliverance, your Flash of Light sometimes, your Greater Judgment's prevented damage, and then you have mostly your Word of Glory. Your Word of Glory can be very high, but again, it really depends about how you use it and also how much damage we get. Your Holy Prism will also do a lot of healing and damage. And I really think for Avenging Crusader, although you have to use 3 Holy Power, it's very easy to have because your Judgment generates 1 Holy Power. Your Holy Shock is like 2 charges. You basically can do 2 Holy Shocks on your allies. You have like a Glimmer on everyone, so you can basically do like a Disc Priest, shielding everyone before the start of the match. And you have, or like renew everyone to get like the atonement healing, and then you put a Judgment on someone, and you basically have like 3 Holy Power. You can just spend Avenging Crusader however you want, and you just can't start with that the whole match, for example. It's a 1-minute CD, also like that. I wish Avenging Wrath actually was a 1-minute CD, but it isn't. So that's why I'm actually playing Avenging Crusader, because I feel like the damage I will have on Judgment is also quite nice and noticeable, but also the healing from it. So whenever you're pressing Judgment is actually like super rewarding, because you're going to give like a preventing damage, but also you're going to heal your allies, and it's a huge win-win. I played on stream with Veneration. I really like that, but I think it needs a little buff. I think 50% extra, and it would be very nice to play with it. But I think the main problem with it is that it is competing basically with Boundless Salvation. So we're playing with Reclamation to actually gain more mana and such. So this is like basically what you want, because if they are low, Holy Shock will heal for more, but also will cost less mana. Tear Deliverance is now something you can press at the start of the match, and you can basically have the extended value of 40 seconds, which is basically going to make Tear Deliverance something you're going to press on CD. It will have huge healing. You're going to press Holy Shock like on CD. Your Divine Soul press already is like ×5, so because it goes on 5 targets, it will basically have like 10 seconds extra, and if you're doing a Flash of Light, boom, you're already capped very easily and very fast. The healing is quite nice, the increased healing is quite nice. There is nothing you really do not want from Tear Deliverance. I really like that. It was also competing with Glorious Dawn, but I tested a lot, and I don't think it's that good, although the healing and the damage is increased by 10% for Glimmer of Light. I think the first part is way too small. If it was like 20% or 30%, I would maybe think twice, but 10%, it is basically not refunding too much your costs of Holy Shock, so you can just skip it. We're playing with Blessing of Summer. I saw some people play with Merciful Auras. Personally, I do not really like that. It's like a Ysera, but for the poor, I would say. It's really weak compared to the rest of the druid version. Blessing of Summer can add 200k damage in one go, and sometimes it can just like pop someone. If you're playing with a subtlety rogue, whenever they're kinning or like doing their go with their Shadow Blades, put the Blessing of Summer on them, and they will probably kill someone with their secret technique. You can do that as well. We're playing with Awakening, which basically wants you to spend Holy Power like all the time to get that 30% increased damage on Judgment. Also crits, and Avenging Crusader for 8 seconds, again, making you heal way more with your Judgments. We have Inflorescence of the Sunwell, an additional charge on Infusion of Light, increases Greater of Judgment's effect by an additional 50%, so it's going to be insane. That reduces the cost of Flash of Light by an additional 30%, basically making it free, and the Holy Light, we do not care. And then we have the creme de la creme, which is Daybreak. I think everyone's favorite spell right now. Basically triggering their effects for 200% on the Glimmer of Light. So it heals for insane amounts, but also will generate 3k mana per Glimmer of Light consumed. This is basically going to heal like regen mana like crazy. You can press it like at the start of the match, and you can even press it every time you're going to have it on CD, and that will be huge value. You have people that are kind of looking at Divine Plea from the PvP talent. Do not take that. The mana that you will regen from Daybreak is often, if not better, than the mana that you would regen over 15 seconds of Divine Plea. Also, you're going to gimp yourself on healing and damage, and you do not want that. Rising Sunlight is the best passive that you ever will have. After casting Daybreak, your next 3 Holy Shocks cast 2 additional times. So it will cast 3 times in a row. And if you have a Glimmer of Light, it will proc 3 times that Glimmer of Light. You can basically one-shot someone if you're doing that on 2s, with then a Hammer of Wrath, and then with that, for example, I don't know, man, another Judgment, and you're going to wreck someone. It's very strong. And then Holy Prism as well, doing a lot of damage by themselves. So you want to press Daybreak. You really want to. Do not keep it for whenever someone is low, then it's too late. You want to press it to have the advantage and to keep the advantage. Very strong. Again, I think the Holy Paladin is complete. Yes, you can play a melee caster wings, and it will be still the same build pretty much, but I do prefer the healing on judgment. It gives me the extra oomph sometimes needed to heal my allies, although it's not like crazy healing like in 10.1, but it is something that it will add up on the greater judgment, especially if you're creating your Refusion of Lights, and you will get the greater judgment increase. No one will stop you. The damage is going to be very high. So there is pretty much the build. Now let's talk about PvP talents. What do you switch out? What do you not switch out? Blessed Hands, you do not switch out. You want the additional charge of Blessing of Protection or Blessing of Freedom. Yes, if you're playing versus Caster Cleaves, you can switch out and play, let's say, Cleanse the Weak, which is super strong versus SPs, Boomies. Sometimes you can play it versus Destruction Warlocks, because if they put Immolates on everyone, you can basically dispel with one dispel the Immolates, which is very annoying for them because they have to cast Immolate every single time. Versus the Elemental Shaman, I wouldn't do that, but you can, and that will make also them very much ragey. Versus Unholy Decays, it's actually very nice to actually dispel the diseases with Flash of Lights. But right now, Unholy Decays do not really play too much around diseases, but more about the wounds. So that will not stop him. Again, this is also going to ruin the Assassination Rogue's day, because dispelling poisons for free with a Flash of Light is quite insane. You can play with Divine Vision to increase the range of your auras, but also reduce the aura mastery by 60 seconds. Personally, I do not really like that. I saw some people play with it. I can understand it, but I do not really like that. We're playing with Searing Glare. I really like that talent. It's also a talent that you can switch out if you really desire, like for example, Cleanse the Weak. If you do need Blessed Hands and you do need Cleanse the Weak, you can switch out Searing Glare. And then the only talent that I do not switch out is Denounce. I think it's the most OP talent that we have. Preventing crits on people is actually going to matter more than the healing after, because if they're not critting, like for example a Fire Mage or a Fury Warrior, their spec is actually non-functional, and this is going to be insane. You can even put it on the enemy healer. So if you see a Holy Paladin, put Denounce on them, and they will not crit once, and they will actually lose mana, because they will not have Infusions of Lights. So it means that Flash of Light is actually quite expensive, and that means that they are going to lose on the mana game. Also, not critting while your build crit is actually very, very annoying. I remember on my Arms Warrior, whenever Curse of Weakness, the amplified one, was on me, it meant that I didn't really play the class and the build that I played with Arms Warrior, which was full crit. So Denounce is actually the same. It will reduces like all the crit potential of that spec, but also just in general will make them have to dispel Denounce on their allies. And guess what? You do not even have a CD, so you can pretty much spam it very strong. Also, the damage is insane. If you're like melee wings, judgment, denounce, holy shock with let's say the rising sunlight, you're going to pretty much like destroy someone. They're going to play on the back foot if they are really on the back foot at that moment. So that is pretty much the PvP talents. Or we can go one by one. Avenging light, I do not like that. I guess for RBGs, why not? But you do not have the time to holy light. You will have to play with Hand of Divinity if you want to have great value. Ultimate sacrifice, very nice, especially if you're playing with recompense. It does more damage then, but it is a 6-second long like duration, so breaking CCs with it is a bit more hard. Darkness of Before the Dawn, we do not play that. Spreading the Word, we do not play that normally. Divine Vision, I do not play that, but there is some people that are playing it. Cleanse the Weak, again, I said multiple cases, especially versus SPs, that's a must. They're going to hate you. That's all right. You're going to whisper them and say, look, get good. Anyways, Hallowed Ground clears and suppresses all snare effects. I think that's actually quite nice with Righteous Judgment if you're playing RPGs, but I don't think it's going to be good in, let's say, 3s or 2s. Judgment of the Pure is quite nice, but it's not like you want to dispel yourself most of the time, and that's not going to be that good. I think it will be better if you're a Retribution Paladin, for example, but as a Holy Paladin, you don't have the points to spend. I think Cleanse the Weak is just that much better. Divine Player, do not play that. I think they will have to buff it by ×2 to make it worth, because 24k mana is actually equal to 8 targets of Glimmer of Light, which you have it as a passive. So if there are pets, you're basically getting a free Divine Player with just one press of a button, they break. Anyways, so this and those are the PvP talents. Now I'm going to talk about a few things. Comp-wise in 2s, because I have a lot of people that are playing 2s on my channel, and I respect that. I do love 2s as well. The comps that you want to play, and I played as a DPS also with a Holy Paladin, so I have also some preferences. Demonology Warlock, Holy Paladin is obnoxious, so you can play that if you want to. Enhancement Shaman of the Holy Paladin works insanely actually. You can play Arms Warrior with Holy Paladin, the Fury Warrior with Holy Paladin, that is just the OG comp. Unholy DK with Holy Paladin is insane as well. I mean, you can basically work with anyone, but my preferred comp would be Arms Warrior with a Holy Paladin. That's the insane comp in 2s. In 3s, you want to play basically what works in the meta. You are pretty much the replacement of a priest. So be the replacement of a priest, you can play RM Pala, you can play Arms Warrior, Retribution Paladin, Holy Paladin. You can play even better Turbo with a Holy Paladin, or you can play Windwalker Enhancement Shaman with a Holy Paladin. You can play a Caster Cleave, which is probably the most fun you will have as a Holy Paladin, because they will never target you, never ever. Even for like silences and interrupts, they will never do that, so you have free reign on Flash of Lights. And in general, you're going to have a great time in Soul Shuffle. The counters I have in Soul Shuffle are pretty much like boomies. I really hate boomies. And Holy DKs, I really hate Unholy DKs. Actually, every single caster is annoying for you because your Blessing of Protection is useless. It's useless. It's just not worth the press, because it doesn't do anything versus casters and magical users. You can press Blessing of Protection versus a Demonology Warlock, because all of those demons actually like get stopped by the Blessing of Protection for some reason, but it does work like that. So do not be scared of actually pressing that, because it stops the main pet of the Demonology Warlock. So again, abuse that. Fellord also gets abused by that. So again, do not be scared of actually pressing Blessing of Protection versus Demonology Warlock. But you are a huge like annoyance for specific specs, like for example Feral Druids, Sub Rogues, Assassination Rogues, Outlaw Rogues, Arms Warriors. Your Blessing of Protection can just stop them with their bleeds, and Arms Warrior are actually playing with bleeds these days. So if they're actually doing their biggest go, you can just Blessing of Protection and you're fine. The same for assassination rogues if they are doing a death mark, blessing of protection. If a feral druid is actually doing their feral frenzy and you're scared, blessing of protection can save you a lot of trouble. And if you're doing very soon, you do not have to like heal them up back to 100%, especially in soul shuffle. The dampening is kicking very hard, so sometimes you do not have enough healing to survive. Anyways, so you want a glimmer of light on your enemy, you want a glimmer of light on yourself, you want to create your judgment, basically that will prevent 31k, which is quite insane. You want to do a hammer of wrath whenever you can, you want to have holy shock on use, and you see the glimmer of light actually proccing for 13k. And then if you want to like do damage, you can basically pop your avenging wrath, and then you can do daybreak, and then you can do greater of judgment, holy shock, hammer of wrath, divine soul, holy shock, and that's a lot of damage, right? So you see, damage wise, we did 42k DPS, which is again glimmer of light, holy shock, judgment, crusader strike whenever you can. It crits, fortunately, but you see that the damage is quite insane. If you want to burst, you can also burst with denounce, boom, and it does insane damage. And yeah, it's insane. There is nothing say about it. I think it's really strong, so be sure to abuse it and you will be very fine. Be sure to have your beacon of light, beacon of faith on your target, so you can actually have a lot of AoE healing, but also in general a lot easier time to regenerate your how is it called, your holy powers. So if you want to have a go, glimmer of light, bam bam bam, another holy shock with a hammer of wrath, greater judgment, holy shock, and you see I have like prevented 280k. Of course it does stack, but of course it gets used pretty easily and pretty fast. But if the target is stunned and you have a lot of like judgments on the target, it can prevent a lot of things. And versus the disc priest, if you're preventing the damage of the disc priest, it also heals nothing on atonement, so you're actually ruining them if you're actually doing that on them. Try to use divine favor whenever you can. There's a lot of healing as well. And tier deliverance, try to use it whenever you can, because it is just too strong to not use it. And yeah, I mean, it's insane. So the healing of tier deliverance is unparalleled. So if you can actually play around that, be sure to do that, and you will be fine. And again, I think not a lot of people actually like trying to learn new holy paladins to how to deal damage. But I think that is part of how you will love holy paladin. If you actually know how to deal damage, it is going to be feeling like great. It's going to feel like a disc priest, and that's how most heals should feel when playing healer in arenas. I have only one macro at the moment. I will search for different macros, but I have a stance macro. I will put it in this description. It will save you a keybind. Show tooltip, cast stance 2. It's exclamation point devotion aura, and then point with a comma, exclamation point with consecration aura, and you will then be able to switch with just one keybind. Very easy, and it's a press and forget kind of thing. What I want to talk about also is concentration aura being 30% interrupts and silence effects. So even if you're interrupted, you're fine. I mean, you can come back pretty easily with that. Even if you're spell locked by a warlock, for example, it's 30% less, so there's nothing they can do about it. Also, I think interrupting a holy paladin is just not worth it most of the time if they're playing with concentration aura. Some holy paladins are not thinking about it, and they're pressing like a devotion aura for the 33% damage reduction, and with the raid wide damage reduction with your aura mastery. But concentration aura is very strong. So if you're playing with casters, I prefer to have that, so they can actually cast most of the time, and it is actually not worth to press interrupt with precog being able to make them uncc'able. So this is pretty much the guide. If you have any questions, or if I forgot about something, please do remind me so I can actually help you in the comments. I will post multiple videos in 2s and 3s that it will complement the guide, but I think for just one video, which is already very long, I think it's 40 minutes. Hopefully you did learn something with the 40 minutes. I think putting extra gameplay behind it will make it like a very long video, and hopefully you did watch till the end. But we will come out with 2s matches, solo shuffle matches, 3s matches. I will try to make it educative, but also informative and also entertaining. So please do subscribe to the channel if you love those kinds of content. If you're looking for another PvP guide, please do make me know it in the comment section below. If you want to know what other classes I can talk about and make you, like, for example, think about a build or enjoy a build, please do let me know so I can actually work on that. I play multiple characters, and it might be that the thing that you're going to propose is the character I'm playing the most, for example. So again, thank you for watching the video. I'm really hyped about Holy Paladin. I think it is the healer that is making me the most enjoying solo shuffles, I would say, as a healer. While I am a DPS main, so big disclaimer, I am a PvP main, but I do love healing with a Holy Paladin. So it's actually mission completed. Well played, Blizzard. Now, please do not kill Holy Paladin with a nerf. That would be very terrible. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and we will catch you there very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.